Hello and welcome to day 220 of Dungeon 23, the series where we make a room of a mega dungeon every day for a year. And before we get into today's room, which is very simple as always, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that today is the 10-year anniversary of me making my YouTube channel. Or more accurately, Google auto-generating a YouTube channel for me after I created a Google account to buy Minecraft 10 years ago. And this video is also going to be a bit of a acknowledgement of reaching 150 subscribers. Now, at this moment of recording, I currently have 161 subscribers, which is 11 more than what the milestone is, but 150 is a nice round number. So that's what we're celebrating, not to diminish the accomplishments of everyone else who subscribed to their channel. You know, dragging that mouse across the screen and clicking the subscribe button, it's truly a Herculean task. But in all seriousness, I was gonna have a whole thing involving talking about different homebrew and stuff like that, but I kept trying to write a script for it and trying to film things. It just didn't flow naturally. And it was probably due to the fact that I basically had one thing to say and was trying to make an entire video out of it. So I'm just gonna put that here. The big grand thing that I was trying to say for weeks now was the key to making Dungeons and Dragons feel more OSR, like old school Renaissance is to just keep basically everything the same, with the exception of use gritty realism, the gritty realism rules that are in the book already, where a short rest is 24 hours and a long rest is a week. Use that. Just actually track your encumbrance. Just use either of the ones in the book, and it'll make your game feel a lot more OSR-like, as opposed to just not tracking weight. And for combat, instead of having new hit dice every level with an increase in HP, only increase your HP and hit dice on the levels where you get ability score improvement. That way, the total health pool of the players is significantly smaller, so the individual attacks made against them have more weight. And to balance that with the monsters, go ahead and cut down monsters' HP by half, or take 1/3 of it off for the bigger ones, and just make it so lesser monsters like goblins and kobolds and stuff like that only have at most 6 HP, so they go down in 1-2 hits at very low level, because they should be fodder, or they should be very dangerous only in large amounts of numbers. That system makes it so that fighters have more HP and all the other ones just don't have as much HP. To give a bonus to barbarians and paladins, which I think should have more HP, allow barbarians to either add strength to their modifiers, and so instead of just the D10 plus constitution, or D12 I believe is the hit die of the barbarian, whatever die they have, instead of just adding constitution to it, allow them to add strength to it as well, or have them roll twice and then keep the higher one, basically rolling with advantage for their hit points. As for paladins, simply allow them to use charisma to determine their HP instead of constitution. So that way they're still squishier than fighters and barbarians, to kind of compensate for the fact their magical abilities are a lot better, and that adds a lot more survivability. But it also makes it less mad, as in multi-attribute dependent, where instead of having to worry about strength for their attacks and then charisma for their spellcasting and smite and all that stuff, and then also constitution for their HP, and then maybe dexterity to keep their dex pretty high so they don't have to worry about getting hit so often until they get good armor. All that stuff could be avoided. Just make it so they focus entirely on charisma and strength, and they'll be golden. Again, very simple. Have the HP of monsters, have players only increase their HP on ASI levels, allow barbarians to roll twice or add their strength, and allow paladins to use charisma instead of constitution. If you want your players to be a little bit more tankier than this one, where it's not so brutal, have them increase their HP only by their constitution modifier +1 with a minimum of 0. every level, so that way they get an extra like 15 or so HP over the course of the game, as opposed to just 7 to 11 every level or so. And that's it. That's the big homebrew thing. Those other things I have, but none of them are as important as that idea. And eventually I'm going to be running a game with those rules. I have run games with those rules in the past. I like them, but I'm going to run a full campaign with them to see how a full campaign works instead of just a one-shot. So maybe I'll make a campaign diary series after that. Maybe once Dungeon 23 is done. And speaking of Dungeon 23, today's room. Just after the elephant room, there is a room where inside is a small wooden box. If you've ever gone to a dentist office or a pediatrician or basically any doctor from ages 0 to 10, you know what this is. It is just a toy box with 3 slots in it. There's a star slot, a circle slot, and a square slot. And lying on the ground are 3 wooden blocks that each fit in each of those holes. Now, the joke is that to solve this puzzle, your character has to make a DC 22 intelligence check. They're not going to be able to solve this unless they're already above intelligence. They have to have a 14 or 15 in intelligence to solve this. Minimum. Unless you're accounting for bardic inspiration, but that's its point. Upon solving this nigh impossible challenge, this Machiavellian, insurpassable, Sherlockian challenge, the little slot down here spits out a cookie. And that's what it does. It only works once. It gives you a cookie once if you make a DC 22 intelligence check. That's all it does. And I think it's really, 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 really funny. I honestly have no idea how I'm going to top this room. This is probably my magnum opus. So yeah, thanks for past 150 subscribers. Hopefully by the 20-year anniversary, I'll have 230 subscribers, or however much 150 times 2 is. Anyway, thanks for watching and or listening. I apologize for the poor quality, and hopefully it gets better.